Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. We're back with another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here with Korea. Made it through another week, back to the weekend, and fun Friday. A really good MLB slate today with like half the games are all like short line, are all like close lines, so it should be a lot of good games today. Obviously, makes it a little bit easier to bet when games are not like all like minus 200, and everything. We'll just get into a recap first of yesterday. One-on-one day for you, Chris. Today, what were your takeaways from your two plays?
Yeah, Mariners A's. That was pretty sweat free. I actually had the Nerfy in that game. I had the Mariners money line. I had the full game under. I had the first five under. So I had quadruple down, and all four of them hit. I knew Brian Wu was going to have a great day, and he had a great day. His ERA dropped down to 1.07, one of the best in baseball right now. I am taking that as where I saw it. The Mariners, kind of had a little bit of a slow start. I kind of expected that. JP Sears, he was slowly getting through the lineup, and then a couple runs, here in the first, I think third and fourth inning, gave the Mariners a couple there. So, but didn't really have to worry outside of that. Brian Wu was, doing Brian Wu things and just cooking the Mariners cooking for the Mariners as I expected. Going six innings once again, so didn't have to worry about any runs coming from the A's side. So that was a pretty sweat-free one there, and then. The Cubs, we were so close, obviously. First five plus half a run. All we were asking is that they don't lose, and they were down by one. How? Ellie De La Cruz 3-run bomb. So it was a tough one. Obviously, I think it was both. I think it was Madrigal and Suzuki. Both had like solo shots to kind of give the Cubs a 2-0 lead to start. And
It
I was
was
like,
a,
oh, this is perfect.
it was a two-run chop by Seiya.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was a 2-run shot by Seiya, and I was like, you know what? Here we go. Like, this is perfect. Like, just taking the Cubs through the first five, and then Ellie De La Cruz comes in. The Cubs offense doesn't really do much after that. I was hoping the Cubs would maybe get one run to at least maybe cash that for us, but unfortunately they lose. So I'm not beating myself too much over it. I thought the Cubs were going to at least keep it a little bit close, and they did keep it close, but obviously not within the plus half a run. Obviously, just down by one. So that was a tough beat right there for me. But at least the Reds cashed for you. I saw obviously with the full game. And how did the Braves and Nationals do for you, Ari?
Yeah, that was about as sweat-free of a first five unders again, 0-0 through five. There's like two total hits between the two teams. Mitchell Parker dealt again. It was the second start against Atlanta where he went six shutout and then gave up runs in the seventh inning. Braves won 5-2, so the full game under hit as well, which I was looking at. But my more confident angle was just backing the two starters with the first five. So that was good. And then, the Reds money line. You talked about the Cubs bullpen not being great. But they did get to Assad more than I expected. They scored 5 runs off of him. You mentioned the Ellie De La Cruz 3-run home run, and then I believe they got two in the sixth or seventh inning, and then they added on 3 insurance runs in the eighth inning to make it 8-4, and that's what they won 8-4. So yeah, mostly two mostly straightforward wins on these two plays yesterday. So obviously we'll take that.
Ari, to make things even worse, I even just realized Christopher Morel had that 2-run homer in the top of the sixth that would have
Yeah,
made the Cubs leading 4-3. So
yeah.
that just it just makes it even worse, man. Oh man, that's how close I am right now. Sometimes it's just what, 3 in one day, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Obviously, unfortunately, both of our plays could not hit on that same game. We were combating, but you know what? 3 in one day, we'll take it as well. Coming into Friday, obviously trying to enter the weekend strong. Obviously, with my 2 plays here, going straight back to the diamond first. We're going to Texas, taking the Rangers money line. We're getting that at even money. I love the Rangers today, mostly backing the Rangers at home and the fact that Logan Webb is starting for the Giants. He's on the road. Logan Webb on the road and Logan Webb at home are two different kind of people. Logan Webb at home is a top 10 pitcher in baseball, one of the best aces that we've seen. But on the road, he does tend to struggle. He does allow I think at least a 3 or 4 ERA on the road. He's given up a few he's given up his runs in his last few road starts, and I just want to back the better team at home right now, even with Texas and all their struggles right now. I'm just backing the fact that Logan Webb, he does struggle on the road. Last time he did go on the road was against Pittsburgh. He got the no decision there, but he gave up six innings, two runs, 6 Ks. His last loss was against Philly, obviously one of the better hitting teams. He gave up he only went 4 innings, 4 runs, 6 Ks. Just got beat up early. So I'm mostly just backing the fact that the Rangers obviously will be. I think their bats are going to be coming alive today. Against the Giants, even though it's Logan Webb, I'm just backing the fact that Logan Webb is not that great on the road. We're getting the Rangers at an even price here, and then obviously on the other side, it's Michael Lorenzen for the Rangers, and he's kind of the opposite. On the road, he is not that great, but at home, he's a lot better. And obviously, he's playing at home, and in his most recent starts, honestly, he has been looking a lot better. He has only allowed 3 earned runs in his last 4 starts. We look at and we look at the teams he's faced. Not the greatest teams, but he did face Cleveland, at home. He went 7 innings, 4 Ks, not an earned run allowed. On his last start against Miami, went about 6 in the 3rd inning, 7 Ks, no runs allowed. So I think Michael Lorenzen is starting to figure out his form into this Texas Rangers rotation, and I think that kind of correlates against a Giants team that does not really like to hit righties as well. So this is kind of more backing the Rangers to win this game here. We're getting them at a good price here at plus 100. So you're just doubling your money on the Rangers today. I think the Rangers do get the win today because, just everything that, kind of correlates with the fact that, Logan Webb, a lot worse of a pitcher, not a lot worse, but there is a difference between him at home and on the road. We're getting Michael Lorenzen at home, who has been a lot better, especially in his most recent starts. The one kind of big question is, I know the last time we saw Corey Seager, he did get injured in that game against Detroit. I believe he's still active, so I think he's playing today. But you never know with baseball; anything could happen at the last second. But I'm still taking the Rangers here at even money. I'm just backing the better team in this spot. In a kind of in a must-win situation because the Rangers, they have not really looked as their true form. After that, they got to have the day off. So, maybe having that day of rest is what they needed to kind of reset themselves, before they host the Giants for this 3-game series. So I'm just taking the Rangers at home here. We're getting them at even money. And then we're going to go to St. Louis here, and we're taking the Rockies and Cardinals game over 7.5. We're getting that at minus 118. And the only reason, bro, it's only that you see these two teams and you're like, why is the total so low? The only reason is because obviously it's at Busch Stadium, very pitcher-friendly park as well. But also, it's Lance Lynn and Austin Gomber. I mean, just hearing those two names just screams over. So that was my first guess here. Second of all, we look at Austin Gomber's splits against this Cardinals team, and they're not good. Cardinals are hitting about 300 against him. They have a bunch. I think as a team they've hit 5 homers off of him. So maybe I feel like if you want to take maybe like a home run prop today, maybe sprinkle it somewhere in this game between the Rockies and Cardinals. I maybe Nolan Arenado or Paul Goldschmidt, something like that. I do expect the bats for the Cardinals to be alive today. That game yesterday was pretty dull. It was a 3-2 game. The Rockies got the win. I was expecting both teams to kind of be a little quiet because of the fact that it was a good pitching matchup between Cal Quantrill and Sonny Gray. But now, obviously, with a less significant pitching matchup in terms of Lance Lynn and Austin Gomber. Even though Lance Lynn, he does have some good splits against this Rockies team. I don't want to have to back either bullpen here. Both bullpens are pretty suspect. I leaned obviously the Cardinals a lot more because the Rockies statistically are the worst bullpen in baseball, which kind of correlates to this over even more. As soon as Austin Gomber's done, the bullpen's going to have to come in for the Rockies, and they're already bad enough. So I expect the Rockies to kind of let the runs come in for the Cardinals. So I see this low total at 7.5, and I love it. We're getting it at minus 118, a really good price here. Just kind of backing the fact that there are going to be runs. I expect a lot of them coming from the Cardinals, especially, after they kind of got shut down by Cal Quantrill yesterday. Even though the Rockies, I do expect to kind of get their fair share of runs today, I do think the Cardinals are going to be the one bringing in more of the runs with the fact that, they just have, the better pitching matchup with Austin Gomber and the rest of that Rockies bullpen, which is absolutely anemic. So those are my 2 plays today. The Rangers money line, we're getting out of even money. Logan Webb on the road. Not as good at Logan Webb at home. And then Rockies Cardinals. We're getting that over 7.5 here. We're just fading mostly Austin Humber, but both pitchers in a way. Not really back in Lance Lynn because Lance Lynn is the most. You're either going to get a great Lance Lynn start or you're either going to get a horrible Lance Lynn start. And I'm not going to back that at any way, shape, or form, especially with this Cardinals team. So I'm just going to back the over here at 7.5, especially with the Rockies bullpen being worst in baseball. Those are my 2 plays today. Ari, what have you cooked up for this Friday?
Yeah, one MLB play, one WNBA play. Where I'm 1-0 on the season. We hit the Caitlin Clark PRA like a week or 2 ago. We're going back to not her, but her team. And this is just fading the Mystics, 0-10 Mystics. I was hoping to just take them on the money line because last night they were minus 120, but the line's gone up so much that they're like almost minus 170 on the money line right now, full game. So I'm pivoting to first half. It's a back-to-back for Washington. They played last night, lost to the Sky. I mentioned my only slight worry is that Washington was winning at halftime last night and on the losing by like 8. They got crushed in the third quarter, like 25-10. So the fact that they were winning in the first half yesterday makes me like slightly hesitant that there may be, better in the first half despite being 0-10, but they're still 0-10. And it's not to say that the Fever are good themselves. They're 2-9, so obviously they're not good either. But the Mystics are just a different level of bad. And Indiana's been like their worst part of their team has been their defense. They're giving up the most points per game in the WNBA, and the Mystics offense is not one that I'm like super worried about in terms of them, scoring a ton of points. So I'm not super worried about the Fever's defense in this matchup. So just looking for them to be winning by 2+ at half. Again, I like them full game, but they've gone from minus 1.5 to -3 in the spread, and they've gone up like 50 cents on the money line. So I'm just pivoting for a better line for the first half for them to cover the 1.5 point spread. And then MLB tonight going to the Orioles, who are coming off a loss last night in their last game against Toronto. It's Cole Irvin against Aaron Savali. Irvin's actually been really good this year. His last 8 appearances, he's given up 2 runs or less in 7 of his last 8. One of them was a relief appearance. He only went 2 innings. He got moved to the bullpen. So if you take that away, then it's 6 of his last 7 starts. He's given up 2 runs or less. And then Aaron Savali, he's been better as of late. It's kind of weird because these 2 guys pitched against these teams just like a week ago. So that does make me a bit hesitant always to kind of – because you don't know, how they're going to adjust, obviously, facing the same pitcher like a week later. And kind of ironically, both Irvin and Savali, they didn't pitch against each other, but they pitched in the same series. And they both pitched well, but their teams lost the game. Like Irvin went 6 1/3, 2 runs, and the Orioles lost 4-3 in that game. And then Savali went 5 1/3, 1 run, and the Rays lost 3-1 in that game. So, Savali has been pitching better as of late, but it's not enough for me to, be worried about him. He still has an ERA of over 5.3 on the season and an ERA of 5.7 in the month of May. So while he has been better the last couple of starts, it's not enough for me to believe he's back or however you want to call it. Obviously the Orioles are one of the 2 or 3 best teams in MLB right now, one of the best lineups. So really just backing who I believe to be the better pitcher and the better lineup at a slight underdog. It's like minus 115 for the Rays, minus 105 for the Orioles on the money line. So yeah, 2 plays for me. Fever first half minus 1.5, and then the Orioles on the ML tonight.
I was also looking at the Orioles as well. I'm just taking them for me as a separate play, but plus 1.5. But I do love the Orioles on the money line as well today. You mentioning, Cole Irvin, kind of getting into his form most recently. Outside of that, bullpen stint against Seattle that he only had 2 innings. You mentioned, he has been, one of the more consistent pitchers for this Orioles staff alongside, Kyle Bradish and Corbin Burns as well. Not really giving up too many runs. You mentioned this kind of weird thing, obviously, with Cole Irvin. Literally, his last start was against this Rays team, and he just got the loss, but it was a no decision. and because he only gave up 2 runs over 6 and a third inning, and then Savali on the other side, his last start was against the Orioles, and he only gave up he only gave up a run through 5 and a third inning. So, I definitely see where you're coming from there. I definitely, personally, love fading Aaron Savali. He sucks. Orioles do have they're hitting about 300 against him, so I do see the Orioles that at a decent price right there as a slight underdog. I love that price at -105. And then going back to the WNBA, sprinkling back going on the Fever, obviously taking them first half -105. I always see 0-10, and I always say fade them, fade them, fade them, fade them, fade them. The WNBA, one of the more intriguing leagues right now, obviously, with just the star names being added. Obviously, you mentioned the Fever not really being known for their defense, but obviously one of the better offensive teams in the WNBA, with Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and all those stars out in Indiana, just taking them throughout the first half. Obviously, you mentioned, this is a back-to-back for the Mystics, and even though they just, lost to the Sky yesterday, you mentioned they mostly got crushed in the third quarter, reason as to why they lost that game. So, it is a little bit of a risky, but just kind of mostly backing the Fever just to kind of get a first half lead there of 2 or more. Those are always 2 plays. My 2 plays with the Rangers and the Rockies and Cardinals over 7.5. Obviously, you can find both of these plays for me and Ari and of course this video on our Twitter below, AKP Sports Talk. You can find everything I just mentioned down below. But that's going to do it for this episode, of AKP Sports Talk. That's Ari. I'm Korea. We'll be back on Monday, obviously, for another episode of AKP Sports Talk, and obviously to maybe even see what's going on with the NBA Finals. Obviously, we got Game 2 on Sunday. Obviously, we've had Game 1 yesterday. Very intriguing Game 1 for some people. For most people, it was a very boring game for the Celtics. But we'll tune in and see what happens on Game 2 on Sunday. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. That's Ari. I'm Korea. Win some money this weekend, and we will see you guys on Monday.